Y'all requested to see more of this project, so let's play. Hey y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and I'm ready to play with this new project. So this spring, when I went to the Stamp and Scrapbook Expo, I picked up this beautiful 6-ring planner from Elizabeth Craft Designs, and it's meant as like a memory keeping situation, perhaps a journal, and I just was starting to kind of play with it, see what I could create before we moved to Texas, and all of my craft supplies were packed up and I didn't really get to do a lot with it. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to use this system. I love the size of pages. These are the Traveler's Notebook size, 4 by 8.25, I believe. And there's all of these beautiful inserts. Like, I'm just excited to figure out how to use this system. I am thinking it's going to be a memory keeping system for me. And part of me wants to use the same collection throughout one album instead of switching with different themes and things like that. So we're going to start playing. We're going to start experimenting. And if you like watching me work in this system, again, it's Elizabeth Craft Designs. I believe she has a website. I will link it down below. If you like watching me work in the system, make sure to let me know down in the comments below, and I'll continue to work on some of these videos, or else I'll just do it in my free time and have fun with it. So today I am going to work on, I think, just a single page. I have these 2 pictures from the day that we arrived in Texas. Super exciting. So I'm going to use those pictures. I have the metal dies pulled out. I have the Vicky Bouton. This is 49 and Market in the Vicky Bouton collab, which I'm in love with, and I'm going to use that for a while, I think, in this particular journal. So we'll kind of see how it comes together. I'm just going to put you all on fast forward. I don't necessarily have a plan. I'm just ready to play with these fun supplies. So let's go. All right, so I feel like using the same collection throughout this journal, or at least going forward in this journal, has a couple of benefits. First of all, it takes away some decision fatigue. When you have a lot of craft supplies, you're like, what do I use? How am I going to use it? What am I going to pick out today? Does it go with the photos? Does it not go with the photos? All of that feels like obstacles at times when really you just want to play with craft supplies. This is my current favorite scrapbooking kit, scrapbooking line. And so why not just say, hey, this is what I'm using, so that when I'm ready to work on this project, I just pull it out. And it's almost like this is what I'm using for this project, or this is what I'm using this line for. It just makes it a lot easier. So that's something I'm considering. And also, it really helps you to use the supplies you have and to actually use the things that you're loving to use. So I think perhaps going forwards, I'm going to stick with this. I do want this to be a memory keeping system, but I also like the idea of a journal. So I'm going to try to figure out how to combine those. Today I want to do a piece that will slip into some of the page protectors because I haven't really done a full-blown piece like that. So it ended up being 8.25 inches tall, 4 inches wide. That's how big the piece is, which is Traveler's Notebook style. These are my 2 pictures that I printed out from my phone. I use an Epson PictureMate 400. I've had it for years. I highly recommend it. It's amazing. And I use an app called Print to Size on my iPhone, and that helps me reformat the pictures to a particular size, in this case 3x4, and I'm able to print them on my personal photo printer. When we moved to Texas, or when we first got here, my sister had these amazing signs out in the front of our new house that said, "Welcome home, cousins," because all of these kiddos get to now be together all the time. And it's already been an amazing adventure for all of them. So I wanted to have, of course, that sign documented. What I love about this size is that it takes away the pressure of having to fill up the whole paper. Look, these are 3 by 4 photos. They take up a ton of room on this particular page. It's just not going to take very long to fill these papers, and you actually get to really focus on the details. So, for instance, the back paper has all these words. If you've been around here long, you know that words mean a lot to me. I like having words all over all my projects, and I'm able to focus on some small details. The purple matting, how can I find purple pieces that kind of mix in? Do I want to bring out blues? It's just an awesome way to really get to be creative without having to I don't know, fill a whole 12 by 12 paper. It just helps me in that way. It only takes a few elements at a time. So again, I love this collection. I don't have to use a ton of it on each and every page. 2, 3 pieces are going to make a pretty big impact on a really small format paper, which I think is one of the reasons people fall in love with card making too, because you have a ton of supplies, but you only need a few to really get your card accomplished. And I can see using a lot of card making techniques like alcohol markers and things like that in this journal to really make these photos and things like that come to life. So I'm excited to experiment more with this. I love this concept that I'm doing right here. It's a single page. It has photos on the front. I eventually am going to flip over to the back. I am conflicted because I do like when I use my own handwriting for journaling because I think that that is important. I think if my kids look back at my projects someday that they will want to see my writing as opposed to printed out words. So I do like my writing on my projects, but I don't really like the look of my regular handwriting. So here's my thought on this. If I can do the fronts of these pages or the fronts of future pages with the photos, like, and maybe just all scrapbooking, all photos, no journaling on the front, and then the back leave space for journaling, then I can have both elements and you won't have to see it all at the same time, but each page will kind of be self-contained so that you can see how the two pieces, I don't know, you can see what the journaling is, but you don't have to look at the journaling, if that makes sense. I could also do some hidden journaling. Of course, in this particular system, if you've seen me do a couple other videos on this, you don't have to have the pages in page protectors. You can actually, punch them for the 6-ring binder, and you could have hidden journaling. That's something else I might want to consider. I think there's some different ways to experiment. I kind of want to go back and forth to see, do I want to do what I would call naked pages or pages that are out of the page protectors, unprotected, if you will? Do I want to do those or do I want to have more page protectors? I have both options because when I decided to experiment with this particular project system, I got some basics of everything. I already know I'm ready to dig into some more metal dies. I only pull out one metal die for this particular page to create a hole in that tag. But I know Elizabeth Craft Designs has a lot of beautiful metal dies. I think metal dies are fun to play with. I had forgotten that they were. I actually have a hand crank metal die cutter. It is from Jane Davenport. It's years old. I don't think they even make it anymore, but I do like using it and I like the idea of metal dies. So here's what you do with a metal die. You have the metal piece. You open up your little cutter. You make a little sandwich with the cutting boards. Several of you noted on the last video that I probably need some new cutting boards. You are correct. That's something I'm going to have to look into. Then you just run it through. I like to run it back and forth just to make sure it's nice and cut. And it just cuts out these perfect pieces for you. And it's a little different than having like a Cricut or a Silhouette cut the pieces because you can place them very specifically or really be specific on where you're placing it. It can cut tiny, tiny, tiny pieces with no problem. I'm here for it. I think they're fun to play with, and it's something that I would love to kind of get into a little bit more. It feels, I don't know, feels more crafty than some of the other things that I do a lot. All right, I do actually end up, I forgot cutting out another piece right here. This one looks like a big ticket item. So I'm going to cut this out and it's going to be another place where I can journal. So I had that little cut apart tag from the 49 and Market set. See, place this on top, run the whole thing through, just making sure it's straight. You can also use washi tape directly on it to make sure it stays straight. Crooked through the machine, that's okay. And then it's just a little, it adds some embossing a lot of times at the same time. It's just a nice something to use. So if you've never used metal dies, they are fun. It does start to get expensive because you have to buy an actual machine to do the cutting, and then you start collecting metal dies. It's like when you start stamping. You're always going to see another one that you want. So it is not a super cheap craft technique or craft supply to get into, but it's a fun one to collect. So that's the tricky part. And a lot of you have collected them for years and years, and that's what I would say. I don't have a ton of metal dies, but I have a few, and the ones I've had, they'll last for a really long time, for as long as I can. I don't know. I can't imagine one going bad unless you just dropped it or bent it out of shape or something crazy like that. So they are a good investment because you're not going to overuse them, I guess. All right, so I'm just getting the arrangement down here on the paper, and I will get all of those down. You can see how quickly this comes together. Like I said, that's the beauty of this size. It's a fun little project. You make a big mess for a little page. I think ideally you would put together several pages at one time. Just, I don't know, cutting out a bunch of pieces, putting together some basic backgrounds. You don't even have to have a specific photo. You could just have fun creating backgrounds. And I think that's when a lot of people end up using this primarily as a journal, just because they're having fun putting together some of the different layouts and playing with that. All right, those are going to be good, and that's going to be it for this page. I'm going to get all of these pieces in place. I will do the journaling in this later and then stick it in the book. Let me know what you think. What do you think of the idea of the photos on the front, the journaling on the back? Would that look odd when you open it up and the left side journaling doesn't match what's happening on the right side? I would just love to hear your thoughts on how you think I should use this particular documenting system. And also let me know if you want to see some more processes with the Elizabeth Craft Designs planner system. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon members. We have a fabulous time over on Patreon. There's a ton of extra content, behind the scenes, challenges, live streams, Zoom calls, lots going on. And there's a tier for everyone. So if you want to find out more about a tier that might work for you, you can head on over to patreon.com/ScrappyWife. All right, I hope that you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.